example in which noise interferes with the message you're trying to listen to. And I think you can provide a good example because I think that's something that relates to all of us. And noise isn't just external, like a fire hydrant or alarm or a TV set or a cell phone. Noise can also be what's called internal. And internal noise is something that happens inside of you. So let's say you found out that, let's say your wife or your spouse wants to talk to you, and you just got laid off, and they want to talk to you about something that you could be doing better in the relationship. All right. Well, with the fact that you just got laid off and them telling you that, and that's playing in your mind, can you imagine going home and having your spouse want to have a serious relationship status conversation with you? Are you really going to be listening? Or is the layoff going to be kind of playing in your mind? Okay. If you found out that one of your parents just were diagnosed with cancer, and you had a performance review and they're telling you about, hey, you need to be doing this better at your job, are you really going to be listening to your manager talking about what you could be doing better to improve your performance at work? Or are you going to be more concerned about your family? Same thing if you have a diagnosis, right? If you're told that there's something going on with you medically, are you really going to be able to listen to your kids when they tell you about their day at school, knowing that a medical report isn't very favorable that you've received? So these are sources of internal noise that can actually interfere with people communicating to us. And it's really important that we identify these elements and either try to overcome them by listening more intently, or if we can at all, let them know, hey, there's something going on and I'm not in a position to provide the best listening capabilities as I normally can. All right, so that's something to think about. The transactional model of communication is probably the most robust model of communication, meaning that with this model of communication, communication actually goes both ways. Simultaneous messages are being sent from the sender to the receiver back and forth, okay? And actually they're both serving as sender and receivers because they're both sending and receiving messages. And that you can send messages and receive them at the same time is really the key to understanding the transactional model of communication. Now, what we're going to transition into now is talking about context. So there's different contexts that the book talks about, and I really want you guys to read about communication in context. They list 4 major contexts. One is psychological context, which has to do with the psychological and cultural environment in which you're communicating. The second is logistical context, which is the physical environment, time, place, setting, and occasion. All right, so think about it. If you let's say you were to go on a date and you were to go over to the other person's house and the house was just completely disgusting. There's food everywhere. It was unclean. Maybe a couple roaches walking around. Would you feel comfortable there? What impression would you form of the person? Even if they communicated how much they like you or what a good person they are, I think that you'd be probably less likely to maybe want to form a connection because the environment is sending a message of something different. There's interactional context, and then there's mediated context. And if you look at this week's discussion in section B, you're really going to have an opportunity to learn more about that. So make sure you read that part of the textbook because that's really going to open up that part and that concept to you. Couple of characteristics of communication before I leave you. Communication requires strategy, which is a specific plan used to reach your goal. So one thing that, and not just communication, I really want to highlight effective communication requires strategy. So it's not just about going up to people and dumping on them whatever's on the top of your mind. That's not effective communication. Effective communication requires, okay, how in the world am I going to get my point across and end up getting a result? What's my goal? You'll as you start analyzing communication, you'll start realizing that a lot of people go into communication transactions without having a goal. People go into conflict without a goal. What behavior do I want this person to change? All right. Some people don't even have that type of idea. They go into a conflict just to complain and unload how angry they are, but they never really get to the matter of, hey, I need you to do this and stop doing this. So I just want to encourage you guys as we start looking and exploring conflict and communication and how to effectively communicate, what's your goal in mind? Are you just talking just to get things off your chest? Or is there a behavior or a change or an action that you're looking to do? And you might have to sacrifice some of your ego to get some of the changes and behavior modifications that you're seeking. So we'll look into that as we go along this semester. While you're at it, make sure you read the seven key competencies of effective communication. I think that's by Stephen Covey, and that's on page 11 of your textbook. And then lastly, ethics. Ethics requires an understanding of whether communication behaviors are acceptable. You might see that on a test. So ethics is not just about communicating, but whether or not what you're doing is an acceptable measure to take. Okay? And so that's going to be really important, is not just saying something, but thinking, wait a minute, is this a really good idea? What's the implications of my words? How is this going to affect somebody? So just think about that. And as you read chapter 1, take time to kind of think about things in parts. All right? Ask yourself some of these critical questions, and I think that you'll really be able to get a lot out of your reading. All right. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.